Crime in America. We have a wonderful guest for you today. He joined us back in April, and we just really wanted to share all of his wisdom. We'll have Reverend Oliver, who is traveling, introduce him here. Enjoy, and we'll hopefully have a spirited discussion afterwards. Here we go.
Oh, we're live. Okay. Oh, well, welcome everybody to our this week's segment of Stopping the Violence in America. We've gone through several weeks, and it's been a very successful, enlightening webinars on various persons, from law enforcement, pastors, religious faith leaders, activists, social workers, that have come on and share their hopes and strengths of how they have worked toward stopping the violence in America, from our schools to our streets and various other places. We've learned a lot, and we're continuing to learn. But one of the major components of having this is that we can create a conglomeration of best practices to come together and build a national network whereby we can begin to correlate and work with one another. Today, I want to, if you hear me, I'm a little stuffed. I've just come back to America from a very long trip abroad. And my body is telling me that those kind of trips are not easy anymore, but they are imperative that I went. But today I have a very special guest to come. Many weeks ago, I have met him through Leslie Rigney in Las Vegas. We had a great lunch together, and we hit it off very powerfully. I was so impressed with his heart. I was impressed with his vision. I was impressed with his determination to be a catalyst for change when it comes to violence, when it comes to our young people, understanding that, there are viable reasons why they have gone through such traumas in their lives and have perpetuated them to become people who are committing certain violent crimes and violent acts. Our speaker is going to be Pastor Troy Martinez, is the chair of Rebuilding Every City Around Peace, the RECAP initiative with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, founding member of the City of Las Vegas Mayor's Faith Initiative, a recipient of the 2017 U.S. Conference of Mayors Cities Livability Award, producer of Believe Again Las Vegas, anyway, I don't know, I've just lost the documentary, a public safety initiative after 1st of August mass shooting, executive director of Nevada's Sex Trafficking Awareness Campaign, and producer of an Emmy-nominated Traffic Get No More documentary, chair of the Las Vegas Crystal Darkness Anti-Drug Campaign, founder of the 10,000 Kids nonprofit organization, member of the Las Vegas Sheriff Metropolitan Multicultural Advisory Committee, Governor's Point of Life recipient, Presidential Prayer Team, and pastor of East Vegas Christian Center. Wow, we are very impressed what you have done. That also is indicative of who you are in the service of your community. Welcome, Pastor Troy Martinez. It's good to see you, and finally we got you.
Thank you, Zachary, and thank you, Leslie, for making this happen, and longtime resident and here in Las Vegas, and we're so delighted to be able to, like you said, learn from one another, because there is a true need in this type of work that we do.
Yeah, welcome. It's wonderful to have you. Yeah.
So tell me, Zachary,
Yeah, please. So
you would
so,
like to start.
Yeah, Troy. So please just share us actually the theme of what you have shared with us, and we talked about previous is that I thought was another initiative. It's called Dads in School, and I think that's a very, very important mission, and it is important for our young people to have that male figure in their lives, helping them to, change those behaviors and monitor those behaviors. Could you tell us a little bit more about that particular initiative?
Absolutely. And thanks for that wonderful introduction. And all those things that you heard regarding the introduction are things that led up to us, meaning myself and our nonprofit, to be called in by the Clark County School District, which is the 5th largest in the nation, with 300,000 plus students and 40,000 staff. And right after COVID, there was a huge spike in the Las Vegas school district of violence. And we're talking about assaults on teachers, assaults on staff, assaults on students. We were having parents come onto campus and assault both staff and other students. And it escalated to gunfire, where we had a student killed on campus by gunfire. At one particular high school, there was a gun battle where 2 students on campus with firearms were having a shootout with a carload of other students from a different area that had several weapons, and over 140 rounds were exchanged. This is during a fire drill where students were streaming out of the school into the street, and there's this big gun battle. 5 students were injured, a couple of those critically, thank God none of them died. But what happened in our city was very similar to what happened across the nation, where during COVID, kids were locked in the homes. There was a lot of dysfunction in families. We know domestic violence went up, child abuse went up, all kinds of neglect issues, addictions went up, and just some very difficult circumstances that, whether you're a student or not, impacted our lives. And then these students went back to school with very little confidence on what the rules were. Some wore masks, some did not. They had seen rioting and demonstrations. Some of those were peaceful, some of them were not. During the George Floyd tragedy, where a young man was killed by a police officer after 9 minutes kneeling on his neck. And so people were angry. These students saw these things, and they just basically didn't have the coping skills to deal with them in a peaceful way or dialogue. So the district, because we had a long history working with the district on reducing drugs being brought into the schools, doing the documentary you mentioned on sex trafficking. In 2014, our city, actually our state, for the first time in the history of Nevada, passed a law to make sex trafficking a crime. Prior to that, a girl could be sold, and the maximum penalty was pandering of about $150 fine. So the risk to reward was incredible. You know, someone bring a girl here and make thousands of dollars a night off her. If they were caught, it's $150 fine. Well, this new law changed that, but we needed to do a statewide awareness campaign, including in the schools. So we made a documentary that went on every channel, uninterrupted for 30 minutes. Simultaneously, it's called a roadblock, and we were able to accomplish that with very little money. Most of it was donated, millions of dollars worth of airtime from all of the major networks: CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, Telemundo, PBS. Everyone participated both in English and Spanish. So because of these type of favor and success that the school district was used to having when they partnered with us and our nonprofit, they said, why do we have all this violence? Well, one of the big indicators was in October 1, 2017, there was a mass shooting, the largest mass shooting since the Civil War, and it still is, where, you know, 58 people were murdered. One of those was a police officer. And also about 800 were injured. About 400, I think, were shrapnel from the gunfire, and others were trampled or broken bones from fleeing. And so it was a terrible historic event and tragedy in our nation. But what we did after that was we pulled together experts from all over the country. They had been at 9/11, they had been at Sandy Hook, they had been at hurricanes, tornadoes, the fires in California, the Camp Fire, where, you know, an entire community was burned to the ground and people lost lives. So we brought all these experts in, and they helped us produce a documentary to prepare our city, our parents, our students, what it would look like living in the aftermath of a mass shooting. And one of the things they predicted was that we would see a spike in violence amongst the youth, especially at school. So this was, remember, 2017. We did the documentary in 2018. And then, you know, soon after COVID hit, and then the kids had never had a chance to process in a correct way the mass shooting and the trauma that comes with that, especially the younger students. And one of the things we learned was that a young mind, when they see these news stations looping over and over and over the graphics of the mass shooting, which happens typically after any one of these tragedies, their mind thinks that it's happening again, even though it's footage from a day ago or a week ago or a month ago. Their brain doesn't know how to receive that messaging, and they feel like it's traumatizing or triggering them all over again. So the reason I mention that is many of the schools had problems across the nation after returning from COVID, but ours had a much more difficult time. And part of that, we believe, was because of the aftermath of 2017, a mass shooting here in Las Vegas. Excuse me. So when these difficult times came, we met with the school district. We had been inspired by some other programs across the country, and we set our heart to find a way to put direct services into the schools. One of those direct services is men, and it can be a woman, it can be a mother or anyone else who signs up. They have to take a FBI background check, they have to take some training, they have to be paired up with a principal of a school. Excuse me, guys, I have a little bit of a catch in my throat there. And once their FBI background check, their training, they have to take some other things that the district would require from any teacher or volunteer that would go on campus. They're given a referee style jersey that looks like what you would see on an NFL football field of the referee. And that's to give them high visibility, that students can see them from a distance, the teachers, and also to psychologically give them a thought of a referee's there to be neutral. They're not there to be in the game. They're not, we're not police. We're not staff. We're neutral. We're there to make sure everything is fair. Everything is healthy, that it's done right. It's done to the rules. And so that's the, kind of image that we want. We're not there to intimidate the students. We're there to show them compassion and to be a presence. We call this prevention through presence. And Zachary, you just mentioned sometimes the absence of a father. And we, there's data that can support this, but in simple layman terms, when there's a grown man there in a home, the children cannot get away with as much when it's just a single mom trying to pull together 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and they're not listening. When the dad shows up, it's a whole different story, and the together they can do much more. So one of the things that Dads in School does is we have an awareness campaign where we go out into the community and we go on television, radio, newspaper, and announce that this is an opportunity for men in their own neighborhood to be able to serve at a school near them. And additionally, if there's any mothers that want to be involved in Dads in Schools, and they go to the website, they sign up and go through the process I just described. We also go to churches, nonprofits, community centers, and do a physical presentation where we're there and sign people up. So that just in the first year, we were able to sign up thousands of men and some women to at least join the program. We made it available to the school district principals. There's 360 campuses, so 360 schools, and 53 of those schools signed up immediately. And we were able to deploy volunteers to those schools. We currently have about 100 badge volunteers that are there every day, another 250 plus that are badged and being deployed. And then we have, I think, 13 or 1,400 that are on in the process. They've signed up on the website, but they still have to get a background check and go through the process. So one of the exciting things to report is now that we're approaching the end of the year, we did some school surveys where we sent the principal a survey and we asked them if attendance went up or down or stayed the same. And one of the things we saw after COVID and the violence started to break out, kids just stayed home. They missed school, so they weren't getting their education. They were afraid, and their parents were afraid and would not send them. And they were already used to kind of staying home because of COVID. So it wasn't a huge, transition just to say, I'm going to continue to stay home. So one of our goals, or one of our outcomes, measurable outcomes, was if attendance would go up. The other thing we were looking to accomplish was violent incidents to reduce, and peaceful climate, or basically saying that the children felt safe to learn, would go up. So I'm pleased to report that the surveys that have come in and are still coming in are showing that attendance has went up across the board. So that's a good indicator. Additionally, we saw that violent incidents reduced in many of the schools. There was actually one school, it's a middle school, where last year, before Dads in Schools, there was fights almost weekly, sometimes daily, in the cafeteria area. These middle schools have like 2,000 students. A high school here will have 4,000 students, and you mix thousands of students in the cafeteria, it's easy for a fight to break out. This particular school has had zero fights in the cafeteria all year, and we're praying that by the end of the year that will continue to maintain, and we'll be able to have that one school that has had zero fights in the cafeteria for an entire year, because the dads and schools volunteers are there walking around, talking to the students and making them feel safer, and also sending a message that they're not going to allow violence to take place while they're there. So that was another indicator, violent incidents. So many of the schools reported violent incidents went down, and a few of the schools reported that violent incidents stayed the same, which is still good news. It means that it did not get worse. And so we're very excited to report that. But across the board, the climate, what they call the student climate, which basically is a term for, do you feel safe? Across the board, it increased. And why that's important is there's studies that prove a student cannot learn if they're at school and they're afraid. As a matter of fact, they cannot learn if they're hungry at school. That's why the student breakfasts were included years ago. The student lunches are free, because students cannot learn if they're hungry, and they cannot learn if they're afraid. We also noticed that many of the students that normally are constantly in fear for whatever reason, maybe they're bullied, maybe they have some insecurities, that those students tend to sit or gravitate near where our men volunteers are. So they have now somewhere to go in their school if they start to feel unsafe. They just see that uniform, they see that referee jersey, and they feel afraid or insecure. They just start heading that way, and sometimes they never even talk to the volunteer. They just are within 10 or 15 feet, and they feel safer. If someone was bullying them, they'll go the other way because there's the big dad with his uniform on. And we're learning that it's a safe space for them. We also are hearing from the teachers. It's hard to even say this, but last year, a teacher here in Las Vegas was strangled almost to death. It was attempted murder by a 16-year-old student. She was raped, she was beat, she was strangled to death, and the student when she was left unconscious on the floor, he put a file cabinet over her to hide her body, and she came to, and he went back to finish strangling her, and she had to play dead to survive. And this young woman that had this happen to her, it sent fear, shockwaves across to every teacher, especially the female teachers, especially the younger ones, that they see themselves in that reflection of that teacher. And also you got to think about this, the spouses of these teachers, the spouses of these teachers that are saying, I'm not sending you back to school, you're going to quit. And there was a lot of teachers that quit or did not sign back up for further service. And we were hemorrhaging good teachers because of this one incident and many other incidents, although they were not that severe. But it shocked our community. And I can tell you that the teachers come up to our volunteers on a daily basis and thank them. I've had volunteers say, I feel embarrassed because I get thanked 20 times a day by these teachers, and we're just out here volunteering. They don't feel like they're doing a whole lot because they're right in the middle of it. But to those teachers, to see a physical person, a male that's wearing the uniform, standing there and going up and down, and if they were in trouble, they could yell out, and there's somebody to respond instantly. Even though we have the school police, they still have to be called, dispatched, get to the location, and respond in whatever manner to whatever incident. These men are just there, prevention through presence. And so we're very excited. We're very pleased. We're looking to get more. I'm getting calls from all over the nation of people that want to start one in their school. Some are just parents, some are principals, some are from their districts, and they're saying, how can we use this model in our own community because we have similar issues? So Zachary, I agree with you. We have to, just humbly serve one another, learn from each other. And some of the successes that we've had here, I really do credit to the grace of God. We had no proof initially that it would work, that it would be successful. It was a step of faith. We used common sense, we prayed, and we just did what we had to work with. We used what we had to work with and stepped in. And I could tell you, our school district is resilient. Our school district is 80% minority. 50% is Latino, a large African American, a large Asian Pacific Islanders, Filipinos, a lot of mixed race, a lot of young white kids. And normally they all get along. You don't have these violence issues. And this was a time in the history of our city where they needed help. They didn't even know it, but they needed help. And that was the opportunity we saw, and we stepped in to help serve these kids and their families, because now their parents feel safer knowing there's less violence in our schools. And I'll stop there for now, Zachary, unless you have something you'd like me to add.
Name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Zachary. So the A is Zachary. But I want to thank you for that profound and heartfelt, sharing of your strengths and the best practices that has proven. And you said that there was no litmus test or a research done that has proven yet, but you have now proven. And the first thing that came in my mind, because you and I both are men of God, so we have no quorums about adding God into everything. And the first thing that came into my mind when you were talking about these dads in school and utilizing them as prevention through presence, first thing that came in my mind was that God's principles of creation are absolute. The male plays a very central role, even with his presence, in curtailing and reducing things just by being there. And I don't know, it was you and me, we had our lunch, or one of our speakers came on and they shared about the elephant story, that somehow these reserve parks had taken away the male bulls for something else, and they left these kind of like teenage elephants to roam around, and they start ravishing and destroying the villages nearby. So they realized what's going on. So what they did, it was uncommon for elephants to do that, but they were like teenage elephants. So what they did, let's bring back the bulls, the father male elephants. And once they brought the male elephants back, all of that stopped. It ceased right there. So again, that goes back to the power of the fathers, the power of a male being in presence. So I really want to thank you for that, and thank you for the best practices that now you have. You have some results that can back up your data, and some data to back up your results, put it that way. So I really want to thank you for that. We want to open up for anyone else to share.
Okay. Hurrah for Pastor Troy Martinez. What a wonderful plan and what wonderful results. And I mean, it's so win-win for the kids, for the teachers, for, so many people are affected by this wonderful plan with this big, big problem that they have in the schools. I'd like to go around and get a little bit from everybody, since we do not have our speaker on with us or Reverend Oliver. I'd like it because I really like hearing, you hear the voice of God when you hear from as many people as possible, I feel, because everybody's got their own perspective and God has made us all unique. And so whatever inspiration you received, if you could share it with us. Can I start with Bill Stoner? Would you give us all your impression of what Pastor Troy did?
Yes, thank you. Really grateful that Mr. Martinez, or Pastor Martinez, has taken upon himself to create such an organization and given of his time and energy and his soul to be able to create such a wonderful and productive and valuable program. I'm grateful that he has done that, but I think I haven't really researched it, but it seems like across the nation, there may be other needs similar to that, but I don't know that there are the kind of resources that he has created. So my concern is, how can we replicate that in other urban areas? So I think it would probably fall upon the shoulders of other pastors. And I would just really be anxious to find out, how could we find volunteers throughout the community who would be willing to go into large middle school or high schools to just offer their presence, offer their love and devotion to God, and allowing themselves to be used as a resource for healing, a resource for strength, and for the kind of value that communities need for youngsters growing up. So yeah, I'm grateful for what he's doing, and I'm anxious to find out how we can do that in other areas. Anyway, great program.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really amazing. And I mean, you don't have to jump through hoops to get money, because they're getting the volunteers. I mean, they could start doing it, by corralling and applying for a bunch of money, but then you do have to jump through people's hoops. And would it be, I mean, it seems that this really grassroots, because people care about their kids and they care about the educators. Educators do not get enough, we don't protect them enough. Definitely. So, Charles, you're at work, so you can't talk. Okay, let me see what he said. Nice to hear. It seemed to have a positive result. Getting volunteers is an important consideration. Exactly. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate it. You taking time during your work schedule. John O'Connor.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing pretty well today. Busy
Excellent.
writing letters.
Oh, Japan letters?
Yeah. I think it's pretty significant. And I'm surprised that you would think of such a process of putting people in schools like that and as referees and especially men. But, way back when, quite a few years ago, I was in Work for One youth center, and I would go into the schools, high schools, mostly a lot of junior high. And at the time that the bell would ring and they change classes, it was just incredible zoo. And so stocked with people being chaotic and doing all kind of things to one another. And there'd be a teacher here or there looking down the hallway, but there was no way these kids could be watched, So I think that, it would really be helpful. And my gosh, in places like that, schools are 2,500 kids or something like that, and, over time, I think that if they stay there, then these basically the male boys, they would look at that and I think that would probably temper their behavior and be less likely to think I got to join a gang type thing and begin to see a sense of respect for what it is to be a man, you know. And I think that could be quite one aspect of trying to get people away from violence, right? And that's just that point of being able to have someone kind of monitor your behavior, keep it in line, and respect the people who are there. You know, the referees are respecting the children and just there for their benefit, not for themselves. So I think it's really a great program. I like Bill Stoner. I said, yeah, it'd be great. We could somehow, you know, multiply that across the land. And that's what I think we're about. We've got to have some way, you know, but, you know, I think we have a way to do that. You know, Nadia, we have, when we have everybody's email addresses of the speakers that we have here, we can sometimes, you know, send out some program like this and then organize that somehow where they can say, oh, I forgot about that. Let's try use that. And someone else may want to use it, you know, in my community. And then they get enlisted to the high school, the principal or someone like that. So something to think about, you know, how to get these programs, which are really, like I said, doesn't take a lot of money. It just takes some organizing, right? Some volunteers. So
Absolutely. And look, you've got all these retired people. They're not all, you know, crotchety and crippled.
no, still capable of doing a few things.
You know, and they're some of them,
Sure.
you know, are contributing in the community, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think people like that would be very interested in helping their community by protecting the educators and the kids. And actually, like you mentioned mentoring. They're actually, just by being there, they're mentoring these kids,
Model, yeah.
showing them what a real man looks like, which is
Mhm.
really awesome.
Amen.
Yeah.
Right.
John Healy, we never hear from you. What do you think?
Trying to unmute here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
I was impressed. You know, they say sometimes the simplest solutions are the best, and this seems to be it, you know, especially like if you can get the parents, fathers of the children that attend the schools, you know, that's they got an invested interest, but the retirees too. I think what you said was a real stroke of genius that these people are looking for something to do, and then they could provide that service.
Yeah.
And the cost is so simple. I mean, it's not like they have to spend millions of dollars or something to get the program going. So I'm sure a lot of these people would do it as a volunteer, you know.
Absolutely. I think it's important. Go ahead.
A couple of things was, didn't he say that he already has this going in like hundreds of schools around the country or something? I came in late, so I missed a little bit of the.
Yeah, sorry about that tech glitch. We I think 5 people were waiting for a while. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Did anybody catch that detail? I'm not good about details.
I don't think he had big numbers, but you know, maybe
Right.
like a dozen or 10 or something
Some.
smaller number,
Oh,
perhaps.
okay.
And yeah, he's looking for ways to promote it, you know, multiply it though, you know. So.
Yes. Well, and I know we've got a wonderful grade school teacher. Yep, I'll come back to you, John. We've got a wonderful grade school teacher, and she's always telling me horror stories. She works in the Minneapolis school system. Always these horror stories. I would love to run this by her. And then perhaps, you know, talk with the administration about doing something like this, especially if we would line up the possible volunteers. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Well, that's touches on one of the points I wanted to make. He mentioned something about like an FBI background check or something.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a standard operating procedure, is it? For people working in schools.
Well, I think it's smart. I don't know.
It is, yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah,
No,
pretty,
go ahead.
go ahead. I think they do that. Yeah, I think when we were volunteers, I think they did that at school too. You know, they have to know, you know, what your background is, any crime and any hidden behavior, so forth there. So protect the children.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about the whole idea, and I'd be happy to help in whatever way I can, schools or, but we'll see what happens. This to me sounds like a stroke of genius, just the presence, like you said, with the referee shirts. I
Yeah,
really was touched by that because
Sure.
they're standing there like,
Right.
even if you give them a whistle, like they could even blow the whistle.
Yeah.
Everybody would look around, in case,
No.
I'm just saying, it's really very good, very well done.
yeah,
I
because
don't know.
go ahead.
I don't know if you can think about this the way I do, but I wonder if that can make really a wonderful movie, people in school like that and kids get to know somebody a little bit and little by little they make a relationship. Then they, able to kind of take them out fishing or go to a movie with their family or something, and really resurrect these young people who maybe have nothing, no real good family and no dads around and sort of thing. Could make it really quite a artistic, special kind of movie, I think, if you could, analyze it a little deeper.
Okay.
John's suggestion sounds a lot like the Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you can turn into that sort of thing. You bet. You can
Mm.
promote them into that kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, I had 3 different brothers over the many years. 3 or 4 years at a time. It was really, really, really special.
Mm.
Andrea Higashi Baba, you always have such great comments in the comments section. You don't need to turn on your camera. Nobody needs to turn on their camera. But Andrea, can you give us some thoughts about this? Or are you incognito today?
Hmm. Definitely incognito.
I guess incognito. Great. Okay,
Yeah.
just wondering.
Dr. Alexander is on the call.
Yes, she is. I was kind of waiting for her to let me know that she was available to talk because I always put her on the spot. Everybody always puts her on the spot. Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
That's my watching. She unmuted herself.
I'm here. I think it's and watching it over, but other highlights from the first time, being there when he actually spoke. But I always think about providing the safe place.
Yeah.
And apparently that's what these men do. They provide a safe place to give the kids a sense of security that they can have somewhere to go, that they have someone looking out for them, that they have, they offer a presence of security.
Yes.
And I really gleamed and appreciate that because he said the fighting went down.
Yep.
And the attendance increased.
Yep.
So it lets us know that those are kind of like Maslow's laws of what's required of a young person to really thrive, to feel secure, to feel safe, that they can move forward with their studies and to, I think John mentioned it, build relationships with someone that they could relate to and think that understand them. As a mother, I raised 2 sons, but I always said to my sons, I can't teach you how to be a man, but I can teach you how to have respect, how to have to walk in integrity, how to be compassionate, those type things. But your dad has to do the other part because he's the dad. And that's the beauty of human nature, to have the male and female to come together to complement a thing. But that male child will always need a male figure to really groom him into the male being, for lack of a better word. So again, I enjoyed it. I got on a little late. I was handling some other phone calls from some earlier Zoom calls, but I always appreciate coming on and hearing, the input that everybody has, and to know that this is a place where we can all come and glean from each other, and everybody has so much to give and so much to offer. So I like the exchange, that when we come together, we all have a thought, we all have an ideal, we all have love, and we're all interested in finding out how to grow together and concentrate on our likenesses and not our differences. So I appreciate you, Nadia, for hosting today. And I pray for Reverend Oliver, wherever he may be.
Yes.
He's in a good place.
That's a $1 million question. You should offer a prize for the person that gets it right.
That can
I have
figure it
no
out, right?
clue. I've been putting my little spiritual antenna out and I'm getting nothing.
Nadia, have you have any authority to speak about what he's been doing, say in Zambia or these kind of programs? What's he up
I
to?
have not been able to even talk with him about that. I know he's
Okay.
got major stuff going on, but I don't think he's ready to let us know
Wow.
yet. Maybe he wants to get a little bit more result, or
Right.
I don't ask me, don't quote me on that either. So
Well, I was there for 40-day program there back in there 93, I think it was. That was one of my countries was Zambia.
oh,
We had a great time there. It was really good.
okay.
A lot of happy people.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and he was in Johannesburg, South Africa too, after he was in Zambia, and then he came home last
Yeah.
time. So maybe he's not even overseas,
Yeah.
I don't know. But you know what? God just sent us Leslie Brigney,
All right.
right?
Hey, Leslie.
What did you
Yeah.
say? Is this Leslie or somebody else? Oh, James Mooney. How are you?
Well, I'm so kind and gentle, it's almost sickening today.
Oh, I agree.
We'll handle it.
We just
Yeah.
had an amazing brother from Las Vegas who has a program called Dads in Schools. And what they do is they're a presence in schools and they're doing so much good. I don't know if you saw this back in April when he was on with us. Do you recall that by chance?
No, I don't. I just I was so impressed with last week's meeting.
Ah,
For some reason I didn't know how to get in touch with you this week. And so I called Wendy and I
okay.
found out it was today. And so I just checked in late, you might say, but now I know I got your address, so I'll be getting involved on a weekly basis from here on out.
Okay, yeah, it's always the same link. So if you have previous weeks, you can just click on the register link and
Yep.
it'll send you to, it'll send you to the same link. The date might not be correct, but it'll send you to the same link. So
Okay, thank
but
you.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it was pretty spirited last week. There's a lot going on.
It was very impressive to me. Very
Yes,
much
yeah.
so.
It's good for people to get together and talk. We have so many good ideas that people are shy. They don't want to say anything, but we want to hear from them. And welcome, Heidi. Good to see you and everybody from the West Coast. And Sun Willett, I can imagine she's out and about chatting with people like she does every day. So we're happy to have you. Anybody else have any thoughts about this wonderful program called Dads in Schools? One thing that impressed me, and John mentioned it, was They're referee uniforms. I mean, what a difference between having a referee uniform and a police uniform. You know, until we develop relationships with police and we can improve that whole idea of community working together, and you know, for people to realize that they are here to protect and serve. That's what they do. But until then, the referee uniform idea, it's a uniform. So and it's much less ominous than a police uniform. So, and hats off to our law enforcement. They are wonderful, wonderful people. We have a lot of them on. And we have 3 wonderful speakers coming up that are already confirmed for the next coming weeks, and it's a variety of people. So we want to thank you all. I want to do a last call for any comments.
Yes, I wonder if you want to take a look at a web page. It's I don't know if it's the right thing or not, but it's women. I think it's women's counseling and support. I'm looking at it's called Atira Tan. I'm not sure if it's just. It looked like in the beginning it said, yeah, we're doing some kind of yeah, it says, I'm a somatic trauma specialist and educator, author, activist, and passionate philanthropist dedicated to supporting you transform your pain into power and freedom. So I was thinking about women and being abused and overcoming trauma and so forth. So
Yeah, we had a couple ladies from Kentucky that were really, really good. They have a ranch. And I think
yeah.
40 beds in that ranch. And it was 4 people that, you know, were in trauma situations. Yeah, those were a couple of friends that Son had met that are really wonderful, wonderful. I mean, what a tough job, you know, helping people getting out of almost life and death situations in some cases. They were threatened, and their children sometimes too. So we have a lot to do.
What would you think about, what do you think is the next area that we're like a little bit thin in, as far as the different aspects of the violence and crime?
I would definitely write an email to Reverend Oliver. It needs to, you know, if he doesn't, because he's so crazy busy, if he doesn't respond, I would wait, you know, a week, 2 weeks or whatever, because it might be bad timing. You know, God's timing is the best timing. We know that. So yeah, if you didn't get a response, but you feel like, you know, like this is something really important, I would definitely email him is the best, because otherwise the texts are going to get lost. And then if you want to resend it, if you're not getting, but he's the one that knows the big picture. I'm just a backup tech person and a glorified secretary. but
pretty important.
And I feel honored to do it. He's the one that knows the big picture, and I'm sure he's discussed it with other people. And I think you guys have done some work to try and pinpoint things, is what I've seen. So, but it's really him that's, you know, he's at the helm there. So I take my lead from him. So definitely Reverend Oliver.
Okay.
Well,
you know, I have continued to write down each speaker and some things about them, plus transcribing their speech each week. So I've got that available, and I want to know how to maybe use that. I'm going to talk to Tomoko, I think, here in the near future, see if she can see how she can help me use it for public good, you know.
Okay.
So,
yeah, why don't we talk about that off program?
Right.
And then definitely we want to stick with our 1 hour time, which is, sorry to say. Thank everybody for being here. Really appreciate your support and your prayers and all of your ideas. And God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the weekend.
There's Son.
Yes, thank you.
Son is there.
Oh, Son, what's going on?
Yeah, John, you sent the email to me before.
Yeah,
John said, you say you're gonna get the permission from me for you can do for, each speakers. You're
Right.
making us a record, so you can go ahead. Yeah, I think I didn't answer to you. So you go ahead. Yes, I think you're doing a good job. So
okay,
that will be good. Yes, thank you. Thank you for your
very good.
doing.
Okay, thank you.
That's
All
good.
All right.
Today is everybody
Thank you
sharing,
all.
huh?
Thank you. Good
Yeah.
day.
Thank you, Nadia. Good program.
Okay,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Yeah,
God bless you.
Blessings.
We'll
Have
see
a
ya.
safe week.
Thank you.
so
You do the
much.
same.
Bye-bye.
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 Excellent. Right.
Are we good, Nadia?
We're good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
I'll end the call then.
Huh?
Bye, everyone.
See you.